So, how you doing, Simon?
I'm doing great, Henry. Still not sick, and I've actually introduced my family to Zoom. So I've got this big Irish family, and this morning I had the fun of getting my 71-year-old dad onto Zoom, and figuring out how to press the mute button off. And as you know yourself, even I've struggled with that on Zoom sometimes. But I'm good. What about yourself?
Same here, same in. It's interesting that you're talking about Zoom because I will speak about Zoom a little bit, and I also see that Zoom is growing a lot, and I decided to teach people how to use it on Naučme portal. So I'm locked down as you are, and I'm just trying to find out my way how to help more people. So yeah,
Super.
great. So let me start with my news. A Czech economic journal E15 in cooperation with emerging StartupBox, formerly known as Czech Startup Platform, and the Startup Report participated in a survey among Czech venture capital investors. It concerned their view of the effects of coronavirus and the associated potential crisis on investment. A total of 31 investors shared their view. So what are the outcomes? Most of the investors stated that the acquisition operations and investments might be limited or even suspended in the short term. Mm-hmm. Some of them may prefer to hold cash and wait for the situation to develop. Some mentioned that they would financially support already invested startups, either in terms of survival of taking advantage of the opportunities that are offered by the current situation. The significant pressure on lower valuations, greater targeting of efficiency and creativity of the business model is likely to emerge. Investors will most probably prolong the decision-making process and wait. Startups, especially those that planned fundraising in the second quarter, can get stuck in that deadly vacuum. Although Czech startuppers and investors together with Martin Rozhon and Petr Ocasek and other volunteers founded a great initiative, a non-profit project called StartupConnect. They want to connect startups with investors who are willing to invest in the second quarter of the year, so I believe we will hear more about them soon. Very, very nice initiative.
I think so, yeah. I mean, let's face it, the returns you get on startups take between 5 and 10 years. Even at the most pessimistic outlook, there will be opportunities for returns in that time frame. But it's naive of us to pretend that there isn't going to be a compression on those kind of investors. And I talk a little bit later on about some of the international feelings around that. Yeah.
Yeah. Although startups in areas that are growing due to the current situation can find investors easier. This includes, of course, the delivery of goods, the development of health solutions, and you will talk about it, remote work, video conference tools, and the gaming industry. For instance, let's take a look at the Zoom. It's the most used video conferencing platform ever. A month ago, Zoom shares were traded for $115. They are now on $151. That's pretty amazing. So if you have some spare money, maybe you should invest there.
Well, I was thinking if you're managing to go up 30% plus in this market, that's the equivalent of going up 150% because everyone else is down like 20, 30 points, percent. So they really are bucking the trend, and it's good luck. I did read one funny thing, Henry, about that. People were saying, hey, Microsoft bought Skype. It just highlights what an absolute disaster that has been for them, because this really should be Skype. We should be on a Skype right now. We're not. We're on Zoom. So what the hell did they do with this, major investment that we all use Skype and we still have it on our laptops? Why are we not using it now?
Right, totally. So that also leads me to a new Tomas Cupr, the founder of Slevomat, Dámejdlo and Rohlík CZ project called Nakupbezpecne.cz. Pilot testing is now being launched together with volunteers from the COVID19CZ Facebook group. The idea is pretty simple. Customers place an online order and pick up the goods from the store in a preferred time slot, so no dangerous coronavirus queues. The idea for the projects first appeared only a week ago, and it's tailored for small businesses only so far. So good job there, guys. That's an amazing idea, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I mean, it's just obviously these entrepreneurs coming out with innovative solutions and really under incredible pressure coming out with stuff that's going to hopefully help us all. So, hat tip to those guys. Yeah.
Yep. And it's your turn, Simon.
My turn to talk a bit about international news. So I've got 6 or 7 points. I've seen that the French, they used to have quite a moribund or laggard style startup ecosystem, but they've put so much money into that and it's starting to pay off. And they have a great Parisian startup ecosystem now. They've actually earmarked $4.3 billion to help with startups who are struggling in this environment. That'll come in the form of short-term financing, early refunds of taxes, and certain guarantees, as they call it, for those who have lost cash flow. So that news was in VentureBeat and tech.eu. Fred Destin, a Belgian venture capitalist who's kind of well regarded as being, a human being in the world of capitalism, a nice guy overall. And he's written a very nice piece about the realities of venture capital investing in this environment. And he puts it in a nice way. He structures it well by explaining that there's 3 major factors now to consider. The macro, we're looking at how economies are going to do, recession, etc. The micro, so how will individual companies be able to perform in markets that are going to be squeezed? And finally, the venture capital firms themselves have to view how they can refinance. So, can they get additional funds themselves if you go higher up the value chain? So those 3 factors are simply meaning that, of course, there'll still be investments, but the bar has been raised, and it is going to really test those those entrepreneurs with real grit who can stick it out. Because I'm old enough, Henry, to have gone through a few recessions, and they were different to this, of course. But in the end, if humankind goes on, things will improve, and of course, great businesses can still thrive. To talk to your point regarding those industries that are doing okay, Dealroom.co have done a study looking at the startups and the environments around those that are doing well, and they mention the obvious ones: like health, streaming, gaming, e-commerce, food delivery, and most SaaS businesses, so software as a service businesses, are doing okay. But if you look at the data they're providing, they're basically showing share prices going down for all of them, with the exception of health, except that those ones that are say the more protected ones, their share prices have gone down less. So in this, the thought that and a rising tide lifts all boats. This is a lowering tide, reducing all boats kind of down. So the ones who are doing well are the ones who are losing the least. Okay. I was looking, as I always do, at who are still getting funds in this environment. So companies no doubt have been negotiating for the last 3 or 6 months with their investors. And Lilium raised 224 million euros from Tencent and Atomico. They have an electric jet, an on-demand flight service.
Wow.
So they've raised €250 million. So that's a whole load of cash. Also, Kazoo, an online car marketplace, has raised £100 million from DMG and a series of other investors. So there's cash there. The final point I want to make is regarding that consideration of data privacy. Now, for many of us now, we're thinking about our health and infection, and we feel that it's good that the governments have control over what we're doing to some extent to stop the spread. But it is going to create challenges on data privacy, something that we as in the European Union have taken, I would say taken for granted, but these policies have been developing over the last few years to protect our data and protect us. But now there are things that are challenging that. An app, for example, in Poland called Home Quarantine takes people who come home from holidays and gives them an app so they can keep track of their progress and the fact that they are in a quarantine situation and performing how they should. The GDPR head in Poland said that app has not been in touch with them. So basically what they're doing is actually a contravention, most likely, in GDPR regulations. Also, Slovakia has announced that individuals can effectively be tracked during this crisis. Now, I think intuitively we feel, okay, during terms of crisis, of course, the rules will change, but let's hope those rules go back to the way they were when all of this is over.
Right.
Now, I have three little nuggets to share before I stop my chat. So there's always some good news stories in these things. You have to look for them sometimes. My friends at Brandwatch, this is a company that monitors online buzz and blogs and Twitter, etc. They are actually offering a free dashboard so anyone can actually look at the COVID-19 buzz and see what issues are really driving that conversation, what the sentiments are. So if you go to their website, brandwatch.com, you can actually see all that. Headspace, a wonderful platform that you can do meditation and a series of other, wellness apps. They're actually offering people in the UK with an NHS address, so the National Health Service address, be a doctor, a nurse, or other employees, free access to that platform for a period of time. Because as I'm sure we're all aware, this issue with COVID-19 is not just a physical one. There's going to be mental issues, unwell people, stress about our jobs and livelihood. So they are at least going to offer some support there. The final thing, it was nice to know that the Czech people are being lauded to a degree, congratulated to a degree by the international media regarding the face masks for all. So there's a wonderfully nerdy mathematical style video that I was watching, and they were going through how to stop the spread. And they mentioned that in the Czech Republic, a country that obviously no one was wearing face masks and you'd be ridiculed if you did that just 3 weeks ago, now everyone has to. And of course, there's all of these movements to actually make those masks, and they're now seemingly quite readily available if you're prepared to kind of travel around to get those masks. So that is getting some serious kudos from the international media, and I've seen that in a few places. So well done, Czech Republic. There's still, we have 2,700 cases. It's not disappearing, but the growth has not been exponential so far. Any commentary on my international flavored news?
Yeah, I saw the video, the last thing you mentioned, and it's all with a with a big thanks to Peter Ludwig, who did this first video, why to wear masks, and he just recently made an English version that is spreading online. So yes,
ironically,
big thank you, Peter. You've done a great job.
Congratulations to Peter Ludwig. I suppose is his premise that if you wear a mask, it might not stop you getting the virus, but it stops you spreading the bloody thing. So if everyone's wearing them, that will hopefully have a reduction in the overall virus spreading across the Czech Republic.
Yep. So it seems we are finished. So guys, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, and here see you next week with the 3rd weekly digest episode.
Take care, guys. Thanks a lot.
Take care.